challenges, technology challenges, and ID requirement challenges. Even with all we have done to improve conditions, we still saw hours-long waits in our bigger counties during early voting. We had thousands of voters who requested absentee ballots that they never received. These are the problems we should be trying to solve. I know that many of you like to tout our high numbers of registered voters. You will try to wave in my face the high Black turnout we have seen in recent years. But those accomplishments are largely not a result, but in spite of Georgia's laws. These strides are the results of relentless organizing and determined voters. As the laws of this nation have evolved to allow more than just the white land-owning male citizens to vote, our election laws have to evolve with them. Absentee voting, early voting, these are provisions that ensure all those who have the right to vote actually have the freedom to exercise that vote. I know some of you think I'm exaggerating. Some of you are asking, what's the big deal? So you have to have an ID. So maybe you have to vote in person. But you're not seeing these changes through the eyes of a person who will struggle to overcome these challenges. Someone who works 2 jobs and lacks a car and a driver's license. Many of these people exist, and they have the right to vote, just the same as you and me. I ask you not to diminish their freedom to exercise that right. If this body chooses feelings over fact, if this body chooses feelings over freedoms, let's not choose the feelings and freedoms of one group of voters over another. I am asking each of you today not to disregard the thousands of Georgians who have worked for centuries to earn the right to vote, only to have lost the freedom to vote. So for these reasons, Mr. President, I have to vote against Senate Bill 241. Mr. President, I yield the well.
The senator has yielded the well. The senator from the 30th would like to close.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be brief. During the discussion, we talked about the potential to amend the bill as it passed out of committee. We didn't do it in committee because we wanted to do it on the floor. Everybody in this chamber by now understands that ethics bills and finance bills are engrossed on the floor. So to say that we didn't want to do it in committee, we were going to try to do it on the floor is somewhat suspect. We talked about standing in line for hours on end when the reality was the average wait across the state of Georgia was 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the average wait time at polling stations across the state of Georgia. I didn't mention fraud at all during my remarks, and neither did the senator from the 28th when he got up. So when we start talking about there's a lot of conversation about fraud and abuse in the election system that was in the commentary in the presentations from members of the Senate, we didn't mention that. That was y'all. I think the senator from the 22nd said that over a span of a decade, I'm trying to remember back, it's been 3.5 hours ago now, there was like 20 cases are allegations of fraud and abuse in the Georgia elections. In the last 3 meetings, the State Election Board has addressed 203 cases. 93 were referred to the Attorney General, and 6 were referred to the Attorney General and the appropriate DAs. That's not widespread. I got that. That's not widespread fraud, but to say that no adjustments need to be made to address some of the issues that we see coming forward in the state is inaccurate. You don't wait till you have wholesale issues before you try to meet the need. You do it beforehand. I've heard that there was no collaboration or transparency in the development of this bill, but sections of this bill are direct lift from bills sponsored and passed by the minority party. I also sent the leadership and other members of the minority party the bill as soon as I got it from Legislative Council, and almost simultaneously to when I sent it to the leadership of the majority party. So that is not an accurate statement that they did not have a chance to see this until the last minute. This is a reform bill that continues a process that we began in this body a couple of years ago. There is great passion about it because of the last election, but that doesn't mean we should be scared to do what needs to be done. There is never a good time in Georgia to do election reform. We are either, the way we're laid out, we are either in the midst of an election or just out of an election. No matter how you do it, no matter when the session comes into play here, we are either in one or just out of one. But this is still something that we need to do. I agree with every member in this thing that we should do everything we possibly can to get 100% of all legal voters to actually go out and do their civic duty. I also want that 100% to know that their vote counted, that their vote, regardless of their affiliation, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of their background, that their vote is not rejected because of technicalities or subjective decisions. I respect every member in this body. If you were ever attacked, any one of you, you know that I would come to your defense, that I would stand up with you or in front of you to protect you in any way I could. You also know that I would walk arm in arm with you to make sure that we get every eligible voter the ability to cast their vote. You get the double-edged sword. You talked too long, so I didn't get a chance to ask you questions. But if I'd talked shorter, I didn't cover in enough detail the stuff that was in the bill. I got that. It's either a win-win or lose-lose, depending on which angle you look at. But I felt it was important enough that I go in detail of what I have before you. I thought it was important enough that I told the minority leader that I wasn't going to call the previous question if this went on all night, because this is an important measure that's in front of us, and every member in this room that wants to speak has the right to speak. I look forward to working together with every person in here to channel the passion that we have shown today, to continue to grow our voter rolls with all the eligible voters, and to do so where they all have confidence. I ask for your yay vote on this measure, and I yield the well.
The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is therefore adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is now ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Secretary, if you unlock the machines. Me too. I can't vote unless it's a tie. That's right. That's the rule. The hallways are clear. Mr. Secretary, if you lock the machines. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 29 and the nays are 20. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Senator from the 20th, why do you rise?
Mr. President, if it's the appropriate time, I ask for unanimous consent to remove SR 134 from the table.
Stand by.
Will the senator from the 20th restate his motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to remove Senate Resolution 134 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Resolution 134 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to provide for the suspension of compensation for certain public officers who are suspended because of indictment for a felony, to provide for related matters, to provide for submission of this amendment for ratification or rejection, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harbin of the 16th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 20th has moved that Senate Resolution 134 be taken from the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it's removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. As elected officials, we have a public duty to be good stewards with the taxpayers' money, and that's what Senate Resolution 134 is about. In the business world, we would not pay two people to do one job. If we had to remove an employee for misconduct or whatever reason, failure to do the job, we wouldn't continue to pay them. So I feel like this is a common sense measure. It does require a constitutional amendment. But as Mark Twain said, I've found that common sense ain't so common. And I'm afraid that holds true a lot of times with government. But this is an attempt to address that. We already have provisions in the Georgia Code to remove a state constitutional officer or members of the General Assembly if they're indicted for a felony. That's already in the code. but we do not have a provision to suspend their pay. And so if you look on lines 45 through 47, this bill would change that to where the officer shall not be entitled to receive the compensation from his or her office if they are suspended from office. Now, if they are exonerated, they would be entitled to the compensation that has been withheld. It's very straightforward. This applies to the governor, the lieutenant governor, the secretary of state, the attorney general, the state school superintendent, the commissioner of insurance, the commissioner of agriculture, the commissioner of labor, and any member of the General Assembly. Again, it has to be a indictment for a felony by a grand jury, and then a commission would recommend to the governor, unless it is the governor, that the felony indictment has prevented them to be able to continue to perform their duties, and the governor would remove them. And then if this goes on the ballot and is passed on the ballot, then their pay would be suspended. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. I've got a bipartisan support from this. The minority leader is a signer on this bill, and I'd ask for your yes vote, please. Thank you.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Resolution 134? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the adoption of the resolution? All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallways clear? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 51, the nays are 1. The resolution, having received the requisite two-thirds majority, is therefore adopted. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 144? Oh. What purpose does the senator from the 37th rise?
Mr. President, I would move that Senate Bill 144 be raised from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 144 by Senator Tippins of the 37th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 8 of the OCGA relating to general provisions for housing authorities so as to limit the ability of city housing authorities to operate outside municipal boundaries without authorization, to revise the definition, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harbin of the 16th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 37th has moved that Senate Bill 144 be raised from the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so. Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th to speak to Senate Bill 144.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, 144 addresses a provision in existing state law that enables a housing authority to go 10 miles outside of the jurisdictional boundaries of the city in which it was created. They don't, currently, they do not have to get permission from another jurisdiction that they may be going into. They could go into another city, they could go into another county, even cross county lines. What this bill does is allow that it takes away the 10-mile limitation, but it requires that the other jurisdiction in which they're going to be going would pass a resolution agreeing to the need for this facility that would be proposed. That's all this bill does. I think this good local control bill for the adjoining cities and counties that may have been precluded from exercising their zoning and also their building ordinances in the past. I'd urge your passage of this bill. If there's no other questions, Mr. President, I yield the wheel.
You have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 144? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill? All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallway looks clear. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 36, the nays are 13. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st.
Mr. President, I move to remove SB 162 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 162 by Senator Beach of the 21st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 15-6-2 of the OCGA relating to the number of judges of superior courts so as to provide for an additional judge of the Superior Court of the Blue Ridge Judicial Circuit and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 21st has moved that Senate Bill 162 be removed from the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's taken off the table. Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I bring before you Senate Bill 162. This is the Blue Ridge Judicial Circuit. We're asking to add one new Superior Court judge. Currently, we have 3. The last Superior Court judge was added in 2006. In August of 2020, the Administrative Office of Courts deemed that we were number 2 out of 8 that were looking to add a new judge. So we've had unbelievable growth in Cherokee County. This is for Cherokee County. We are currently the 7th largest county in the state by population. If there's no questions, Mr. President, I'd ask for your support.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 162? Chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question ordered? Chair hears none and the main question is ordered. The questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to remove Senate Bill 106 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 106 by Senator Davenport of the 44th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-2-742 of the OCGA leading to multi-tiered system of supports prior to suspension or expulsion for certain students so as to include wraparound services in the multi-tiered system of supports to be provided prior to expelling or assigning a student in preschool through third grade to out-of-school suspension for more than 5 consecutive or cumulative days during a school year and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Education and Youth recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne of the 54th. Education and Youth offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 106, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-2-742 of the OCGA, leading to multi-tiered system of supports prior to suspension or expulsion for certain students, so as to include wraparound services and multi-tiered systems of supports to be provided prior to expelling or assigning a student in preschool through 8th grade to out-of-school year suspension, and for other purposes. Senator Davenport of the 44th and others offers the following Amendment 1 to Senate Bill 106 by striking in line 32, but not limited to, and replace with such as, and striking in line 48, shall, and replacing it with may. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 44th has moved that Senate Bill 106 be taken from the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 44th to speak to the bill and amendment number 1.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, I bring to you today Senate Bill 106, which deals with the multi-tiered system of support prior to suspension or expulsion for certain students from preschool through 8th grade to out-of-school suspensions for more than 5 consecutive or cumulative days. And these multi-tiered system support and the wraparound services which will provide academic, social, or behavioral support for students. And the amendment, we were striking in line number 32, but not limited to, replace with such as, and on line 48, where we have shall, we're replacing that with may. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I yield the will.
You have no questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, will you please read another amendment?
Senator Tippins of the 37th offers the following Amendment Number 2 to Senate Bill 106 by striking the word 8th on line 18 and replacing it with the word 3rd. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th to speak to his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. A little history on this topic. We passed this bill last year, and it dealt with the third grade. It's been brought back this year that adds the wraparound service provisions to it, and it also increased it to originally to the 12th grade. It was cut back to the 8th grade. I would ask, the purpose of my amendment is to go back to third grade. The reason it was at third grade last year, the selling point on this was it's unconscionable to take a student that's from kindergarten through third grade and give them out-of-school suspension. That's what the entire bill was about. The concept of wraparound services, I don't disagree with it, but I do know from experience, particularly at Marietta High School and other schools that have tried providing wraparound services, you almost have to have a dedicated community in place before you do that. The scope of delivering these services is beyond the reach of the school districts themselves, and it takes community involvement. And I think this would be a great program to start in K through 3 and try to get some bugs out of it. If we can get it where it works, I think we need to come back later and go to maybe the 8th grade, but there's a huge dynamic difference between students that are in the 8th grade and students that are in 3rd. I'd ask you to adopt the amendment. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll yield.
You have a question. Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. When the senator yield.
Yes, sir.
Senator, isn't it true that DOE already offers help with the school systems, K through 12, for wraparound services? They actually call it Whole Child Model Certification Program.
I'm not aware that they may offer support services, but I don't believe they fund them, and I don't believe they provide the extent of wraparound services that are contemplated in this bill that are enumerated.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You have no more questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 106 or Amendment 1 or 2? The chair sees none. All right, we'll take up Amendment number 1 first. The question is on the adoption of Amendment number 1 from the senator from the 44th. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and Amendment number 1 is adopted. Now we'll take up Amendment number 2 from the senator from the 37th. Is there objection to adoption of the amendment? There is objection. All those in favor of Amendment number 2 vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallway clear? Ms. Secretary, please close the machine. On the adoption of Amendment number 2, the yeas are 30, the nays are 19, and the amendment is adopted. All right, now we'll take up the measure. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 5. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd for a motion.
Mr. President, I would request that Senate Bill 164 be removed from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 164 by Senator Huff-Settler of the 52nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 15-11-471, Title 16, and Code Section 31-22-9.1 of the OCGA relating to definitions relative to juvenile delinquency, crimes and offenses, and who may perform HIV tests, respectively, so as to provide for the modernization of HIV-related laws to align with science to ensure that laws and policies support current understanding of best public health practices, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass, respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 52nd has moved that Senate Bill 164 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's taken off the table. Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd to present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is an update and modernization of the laws from the 1980s dealing with HIV and with the condition of AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, that you can get from HIV. This has been some work with the prosecuting attorneys, with the AIDS Coalition, with the Department of Community Health, and I'll try to quickly go through some of the changes. It changes from prosecuting negligence and to intent, which is what criminal laws typically do according to the prosecuting attorneys. It also recognizes the Back to Blue bill that passed, and it was going to be in conflict with it in some ways, so it acknowledges that. It acknowledges the HOPE Act, which says that someone with HIV can donate a kidney to another person with HIV, and over 100 of these have happened, and so that means there's actually more kidneys available for everybody when this happens. It decriminalizes syringes, sections 3, 4, and 5. That's pretty much all that's in there, is taking the syringes out, because we don't do that anymore. We have needle exchange programs that this legislature has set up. And then the last thing is the Department of Community Health in section 2 and 6. It talks about them approving HIV tests. They do not approve them, and they wanted that section to be removed because it's not what the law is. So in working with all those groups, this legislation is brought forward. If there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 164? Chair sees none. Is there objection or agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill? All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Now they have. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 218? Actually, my fault. Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to remove Senate Bill 2815 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, will you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 218 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 45 of the OCGA relating to vacation of office so as to provide for the suspension of compensation for certain public officers who are suspended because of indictment for felony and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harbin of the 16th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 20th has moved that Senate Bill 218 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's taken off the table. Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to present the measure.
All right, Senate Bill 218 may sound like deja vu. We just passed Senate Resolution 134 to deal with state constitutional officers and members of the General Assembly that are removed due to felony indictment. This Senate Bill 218 deals with local public officials, does not require a constitutional amendment, but it basically is the same concept, that if they're removed from office, their pay would be suspended. I ask for your favorable consideration. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
You have no questions, Senator.
All right, thank you. Please vote yes.
It was so heartfelt. Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 218? It'd be hard after you were so nice leaving the well. Chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? All senators voted. The hallway looks clear. Now they have. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to lift off the table Senate Bill 226.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 226 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 3 of Chapter 12 of Title 16 of the OCGA, relating to sale or distribution of harmful materials to minors so as to provide that provisions of Code Section 16-12-103 shall be applicable to libraries operated by schools and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. Senate Judiciary offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 226, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 15 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the OCGA, relating to miscellaneous provisions of the Quality Basic Education Act, so as to require each local Board of Education to adopt a policy providing for a complaint resolution process to be used by its local school system to address complaints submitted by parents or guardians and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 31st has moved that Senate Bill 226 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is taken off the table. Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st to present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here to ask for favorable consideration of Senate Bill 226. This is a piece of legislation that was brought to me by a bunch of moms and parents who are concerned about obscene materials being in our school libraries. There's been much debate over what is obscene material, and if you were lucky enough, I think, to be spared Chairman Strickland's Judiciary Committee when we went through this discussion, there is some pretty bad stuff out there. I have 3 daughters, one in middle school, 2 in elementary, and I think having a resolution or a process where parents can appeal to their principal, their school board, their superintendent, to really have a discussion about what is obscene in their schools is important in our community. The I'll call it compromise legislation that was unanimously passed out of Judiciary basically hits 3 or 4 key tenets. Basically requires the local school boards to adopt complaint resolution policy to address complaints from parents alleging that material is harmful to minors. Also proposes a timeline for principals or their designee to review and investigate the allegations in the complaint. For the principal to determine whether student access to the material should be removed or restricted. Also, a timely administrative review from the local superintendent. Also involves an opportunity to appeal to the local school board and requires that the State Department of Education promulgate a model policy for all school districts in Georgia to adopt related to complaint resolution processes in the local school districts. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have some questions. Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd with a question.
Her microphone.
Use your neighbor's microphone. And your neighbor's not even really your neighbor.
I know. I
got a
turned around to
visitor.
apologize, say thanks, Chuck, and oh, it's her. Will the senator yield?
Of course.
Thank you, Senator. I'm looking at the Fulton Schools policy, and I really appreciate your intentions and work on this legislation, especially because I know you really worked with a lot of groups that had brought some concerns with the way it was originally drafted. But my concern still remains that in Fulton they have, like, it seems a committee that sort of handles these complaints. And are you concerned at all that the legislation is being overly prescriptive in terms of sort of eliminating like a committee that handles it like they have in Fulton and making everyone move to the principal making these decisions?
Thank you, Senator. It's a very good question. I don't think it's overly prescriptive. I think based on what the model policy is that the State Department or Department of Education creates, where all the school districts in the state will have input in creating that policy with the school board, I think kind of the tenets of what Fulton County may have in place may be able to be placed into the policies that all the school districts adopt based on kind of what is best for their situation in their local district.
Okay, thank you. Can I follow up on that?
Yes,
real quick,
ma'am.
if you'll yield? So you're not concerned then that the section that sort of says the principal should do it and then have kind of the appeal process up to the board would preclude the school board, the state education board from going a different direction and allowing a different approach? You're not concerned we sort of preclude that in the bill?
No, thank you for the question, Senator. So based on my experience of being on a school board, the state will come up with policies for local school districts to adopt, and then I, as a school board member, or whether I'm a principal or superintendent, will have input into that policy. And if there are things I want to change in terms of that model policy, I can do that as a local district. So I don't really have too much of that concern. No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
No, very good question. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th for a question.
Thank you. Senator, do you yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So in your bill, you define material as, quote, harmful to minors in lines 16 through 18 as, this is from the bill, description or representation in whatever form of nudity, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, or sadomasochistic abuse, end quote. Do you think that reading or viewing racist or outdated, crude cultural stereotypes is harmful to children?
If it was my daughters, depending on what we're talking about here, yes. I mean, I think just minors in general. I think being exposed to any of that type of explicit discussion, yes.
What about materials that depict gratuitous violence?
Yeah, I think it's for every parent to have kind of responsibility over their kids and what they want them to see or not see.
How about materials that promote, if you continue to yield, promote extremist or violent ideologies?
Just whatever you feel is best as a parent, Senator. Or not
If you continue
best.
to yield, is there a reason that these types of materials were not included in your bill as considered harmful to minors?
I brought this bill based on what parents have experienced in their community, in my community, and others' communities. If that's a bill you want to draw up, Senator, I'm sure there'll be appetite from other senators to work with you on that legislation.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that it is, again, possibly too narrow and prescriptive. But just one more question is, would you agree that the assessment of what material could be restricted or banned is ultimately subjective? And it sounds like from a very small number of people could restrict reasonable access to works of literature or art or media by a large number of children and families, that it's a small number of people making a decision for a large number.
Yeah, Senator, I respectfully disagree. The way we drew up the substitute for this legislation is it basically is giving local control to local school districts, families, communities, and principals, and their school boards to make decisions for themselves under this legislation.
And one last question, if you would yield.
Sure.
Can you tell me what you understand the term, quote, cancel culture to mean for you?
Yes. What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
I think basically we're talking about, highly popular brands or things that we want to see out of society today.
And if you just yield for one last question, can you explain to me why this bill doesn't codify an approach to cancel culture in our school system?
We're not here to talk about cancel culture. We're here to talk about obscene materials that children may be exposed to in a K-12 setting, Senator.
I don't think that answers
Do
the
you
question.
continue to
Thank
yield?
you.
Sure, why not?
Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
Yes, Senator.
Senator, with the process you're attempting to put into place in this legislation, if my children go to the same school as your children, and each of our children are both assigned the same book, and I have some concerns with that book, and you don't have any concerns with that book, me as an individual parent, am I allowed under your legislation to go through a process so my child is not exposed to the book, but that in no way requires your child or deprives your child of the opportunity to read the book? Is that the way I'm understanding your legislation?
Yes, Senator, that's correct.
Would you yield for one more question?
Yes, Senator.
So are you basically leaving the responsibility up to the individual parent or guardian to determine what they feel is best for their child in school to be exposed to when it comes to the types of materials you've identified?
Yes, Senator. I hope every parent would dictate for themselves what they want their kids to see and not see, and not necessarily the public sector.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Do you continue to yield?
No, Mr. President, I yield the well. Thank you.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 226? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? We got thumbs up from everywhere. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 35, the nays are 16. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th.
Mr. President, I would ask for unanimous consent to remove SB 234 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 234 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title IX of the OCGA relating to civil practice so as to provide for uniform laws governing mediation and participants in mediation, to provide for definitions, to provide for privileges against disclosure, admissibility, and discovery, to provide for waiver and preclusion of privilege, to provide for exceptions to privilege, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. Senate Judiciary offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 234, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title IX of the OCGA relating to civil practice so as to provide for uniform laws governing mediation and participants in mediation, to provide for definitions, to provide for privileges against disclosure, admissibility, and discovery, to provide for waiver and preclusion of privilege, to provide for exceptions to privilege, and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 18th has moved that Senate Bill 234 be taken off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 18th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, colleagues. So I bring to you Senate Bill 234, which is virtually the same bill that those of you that were here last year voted on and passed out, I think, unanimously out of this body. It went to the House where it had some questions that got hung up and didn't really make it out. So we are taking another lap with it this year. It comes to you now from the Judiciary Committee with a unanimous bipartisan vote to pass this out. So what does this do? We need this legislation for three reasons. Number one, for legal consistency and clarity. Number two, to promote consumer protection through disclosures. And three, to enhance and maintain Georgia's leadership in the area of mediations. So first of all, current Georgia law on mediation confidentiality is inconsistent and confusing. The laws protecting confidentiality in court-connected mediation are different from those applicable in private mediation. The problem is we don't really have a good legal construct here in Georgia for a statutory scheme recognizing the framework for mediations. And the problem that we're finding is that this is causing the loss of business in certain legal communities for international arbitrations and international mediations in particular to be conducted here in Georgia. Atlanta, for travel purposes and other reasons, is a great site to host such international mediations. But because we don't have laws on the books that provide for certain protections in the mediation process, we're losing some of that business. Secondly, Georgia mediation law is inconsistent or weak on requiring mediators to make disclosures as to possible or perceived conflicts of interest. This bill largely follows the UMA's privileges and protections on confidentiality to attach to mediators based on the adequacy of the disclosures and the parties of possible conflicts of interest that arise and can arise during mediations. Lastly, adopting this would enhance Georgia's stature as a regional, national, and international center for alternative dispute resolution. This very same format has been followed and adopted by multiple other states. The expected benefits from this are, again, the highlights would be certainty, privacy, and certain exceptions to privilege. The substitute that you have before you incorporated some concerns from one constituency about whether or not the communications in the mediation process would maintain the confidentiality and privileges that normally attach. So I think it's lines 154 through 159 are the only changes that are made from the Model Act. Mr. President, I'll be happy to answer any questions or I'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes the Rules Chairman for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Uriel.
Yes, Senator, this is a lawyer bill.
Is this a lawyer bill?
Yes, Senator, this is a lawyer bill.
Let me ask you, is this about mediation?
Yes, sir, it is about mediation.
So do you think if there's a problem between any member here that you, because of this bill, would be able to mitigate the problem?
Senator, I would offer my services and do my best as feeble as they may be, I would certainly try to take care of any problem among members in this chamber.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Would you yield?
Yeah, I do yield.
If I had a problem with, say, the senator from the 46,
Yes, sir.
would you be able to find some solution between us?
I
Is that possible?
I think it's possible, Senator. We might need some libations to help find a solution, but I think we could do it.
That's good. One more.
And prayer.
Yes, sir. I yield.
Amen. Amen. So you're saying that you would be able to solve the problem, but what if you are colluding with the senator from the 46? What should I do then?
Then you should just admit your faults and let's roll on.
I thought you'd say that.
You have no more questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I urge you and ask for your support on this bill. Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 234? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted their machines? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 24th for a motion.
Mr. President, I ask that Senate Bill 247 be lifted from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 247 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 8 of Title 2 of the OCGA relating to agricultural commodity commissions generally so as to replace certain public hearings with online public comment opportunities and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Walker of the 20th. Agriculture and Consumer Affairs offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 247, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 8 of Title 2 of the OCGA relating to agricultural commodity commissions generally so as to provide for full or partial remote communication with regard to public hearings, to provide for notice of hearings, and for other purposes. Senator Anderson of the 24th offers the following Amendment 1 to amend substitute to Senate Bill 247 by replacing Article 2 of Chapter 8 of Title 2 of the OCGA relating to agricultural commodity commissions generally so as to, on lines 1 and 2, with Title 2 of the OCGA relating to agriculture so as to repeal and reserve Code Section 2-4-8 relating to terms of office of appointed members of Commission and Board 2. And for other purposes, this completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 24th has moved that Senate Bill 247 be lifted off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and 247 is lifted off the table. Chair recognizes the senator from Augusta to present the bill and the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I bring today Senate Bill 247, which is a bill coming from the Department of Ag that where we can advertise on our commission fees that like the Blueberry Commission and the Apple Commission can be advertised in the Market Bulletin instead of in the Atlanta paper so it'll really get to the people that it really affects, and it's also be much cheaper. Also, on the amendment, that's just a cleanup amendment on a bill that we passed last year for the Seed Commission, where they had two different departments, two different parts in the bill, and they was saying the same thing and doing away with one of them. I ask you for your favorite, consider your vote for this bill. It's a great bill for the great people, the great state of Georgia, and a great deal more. I yield well, if there's no question.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Does any of the senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 247 or Amendment Number 1? The chair sees none. All right, we'll take up Amendment Number 1. The question's on the adoption of Amendment Number 1 from the senator from the 24th. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and Amendment Number 1 is adopted. The question now is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to remove Senate Resolution 154 from the table.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Resolution 154 by Senator Orrock of the 36th and others, a resolution creating the Joint Study Committee for Strengthening Georgia's Future Workforce and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Higher Education recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Tippins of the 37th. The Senate Committee on Higher Education offers the following substitute to Senate Resolution 154, a resolution creating the Joint Study Committee for Strengthening Georgia's Future Workforce and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 36th has moved that Senate Resolution 154 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 36th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I bring to you the Senate Resolution 154, which would create the Joint Study Committee for Strengthening Georgia's Future Workforce. We are moving forward as a state. We're rebuilding our economy, and we're attracting national and global attention and investment. We need an educated workforce. I appreciate so much the Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education has been doing a stellar job on pointing us to the future. They represent the State Chamber of Commerce, and our Metro Chamber has been working on it as well. We all know the financial roadblocks that there are to getting your post-secondary degree or certificate. This Joint Study Committee would try to get our arms around where to go from here, given that we're looking at the costs that have spiraled in our university system. We're looking at the need to determine the best structure and the best way to fund need-based aid. And I think that is spread across the state. Our former chancellor said this was one of the most important things we could do for Georgia families and for Georgia's economy. So I would certainly support your vote on SR 154. Many of you signed this study committee resolution, and I appreciate the help and input I've had from many quarters. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I'll yield.
You have a question. Chair recognizes the senator from the 8th with a question. To your right.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
I yield to the gentleman from the 8th, to the senator from the 8th.
Senator, is it true that Governor Kemp's office provided input into this resolution and that he is very supportive of this legislation?
Thank you for that question, Senator. We've had a very cordial working relationship with the governor's office and his staff that focus on education in crafting this bill, and the governor will share in having appointments for what I think is going to be a really positive step forward for Georgia in this joint study group. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Senator.
You have no more questions.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Resolution 154? The chair sees none. The question now is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage, the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the adoption of the resolution by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the adoption of the resolution by substitute, the yeas are 47, the nays are 3. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 16th for a motion.
Mr. President, I'd ask that we remove SB 156 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 156 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 34 of the OCGA relating to labor and industrial relations so as to provide for the appointment, oath, bond, power, duties, and authority of a chief labor officer, to require the chief labor officer to provide reports related to claims for unemployment compensation benefits and implement effective strategies for the timely payment of benefits and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burke of the 11th. Insurance and Labor offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 156. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 34 of the OCGA relating to labor and industrial relations so as to provide for the appointment, oath, bond, power, duties, and authority of a chief labor officer, to require the chief labor officer to provide reports related to claims for unemployment compensation benefits and implement effective strategies for the timely payment of benefits, to require the chief labor officer to promptly respond to financial audits, to provide for automatic repeal, and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 16th has moved that Senate Bill 156 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 16th to present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is to provide for the oversight assistance to the Commissioner of the Department of Labor to help get payments out for the unemployment benefits and to get certain reports created to answer financial matters. It's a very simple bill in that respect, but it's also one I believe that's needed.
You have no, actually you do. Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th for a question.
Would the senator yield?
I would yield, sir.
Senator, isn't it true that with the difficulty we've had with answering the claims and the correspondence we have received from our constituents, but isn't there also another problem in that the audit that has to be done has not been fully done, which will affect our bond rating?
The senator knows from which he speaks.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st for a question.
Senator, will you yield?
I will yield.
Thank you. Is it not true we would not be bringing this legislation forward if the Labor Commissioner was doing his job?
I believe you have good observation, sir.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Do you continue to yield? Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th for a question.
Senator, do you yield?
I yield.
Is it true that on your side of the aisle, you have reached out many times to ask the Labor Commissioner how you can help with the backlog of benefits for unemployment?
You have heard correctly.
Thank you.
Do you continue to yield?
I'm yield.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 156? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 32, the nays are 18. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 15th for a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is to move my bill off the. Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I move with asking unanimous consent to move Senate Bill 225 off the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 225 by Senator Harbison of the 15th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 2 of Title 40 of the OCJ relating to prestige license plates and special plates for certain persons and vehicles so as to provide for a veteran's license plate to individuals who served in the armed forces for an ally of the United States during active military combat and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd.
Amendment 1.
Down to Vietnam War. Senator Harbison of the 15th and others offers the following Amendment 1 to Senate Bill 225. On line 43 through 45, substitute with the following: an individual who served in the armed forces of an ally of the United States during active military combat in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Operation Desert Storm, or the global war on terrorism, and for other purposes. Senator Harbison of the 15th offers the following Amendment 1A to Senate Bill 225 by striking line 10 in Amendment 1 and inserting in lieu thereof the following: by striking after the period on line 13 through line 15 and inserting in lieu thereof the following. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 15th has moved that Senate Bill 225 be removed from the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's taken off the table. The chair recognizes the Dean of the Senate to present Senate Bill 225 and both amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill that we came up with also due to the request last year of some Korean veterans who came before us and asked us to recognize them in the efforts they fought with they were our allies in Korea and in Vietnam. Myself and some other veterans worked with them. Representative Hitchens also represented a bill that I carried last year in the Senate. This expands that and makes sure that the veterans who fought in Korea get recognized. Along with this, also we recognize the veterans of the Desert Storm, Global War on Terrorism, and other veterans. This language you see on the First Amendment is a request from the Department of Revenue to clarify this bill and to make it inclusive. And the second amendment is just an amendment to that amendment to clarify an error that was made in context. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I encourage your approval and I yield the well. If not,
Your wisdom and experience has squelched any questions.
wisdom. Thank you, sir. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 225 or the amendments? The chair sees none. All right, first we're going to take up adoption of Amendment 1A by the senator from the 15th. Is there objection to adoption of Amendment 1A? The chair hears none, and 1A is adopted. Now we'll take up Amendment number 1. The question is on the adoption of Amendment number 1 by the senator of the 15th. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and Amendment number 1 is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing with the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed as amended. Chair recognizes the senator from the 46th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that Senate Bill 166 be removed from the table.
Ms. Secretary, please read the caption of Senate Bill 166.
Senate Bill 166 by Senator Cowser to the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the OCGA relating to court so as to require certain procedures for disqualification of jurors and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burke of the 11th. Insurance and Labor offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 166, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the OCGA relating to court so as to require certain procedures for disqualification of jurors and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 46th has moved that Senate Bill 166 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from Athens to present Senate Bill 166.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator, I know it's late, but I'll be brief here. In the jury selection process, most courts will send out a written questionnaire to prospective jurors along with the jury summons telling you when you have to come to court to be questioned and perhaps chosen from a jury. A lot of them have different background information. They confirm that you live within the district, et cetera, or in the jurisdiction. Georgia law will disqualify certain people from serving on juries if they have a conflict of interest. One of those type of conflicts where you're disqualified is if you work for or are insured by an insurance company that has a stake in the outcome of the case, if they insure one of the parties. This bill would streamline the jury selection process by allowing potential jurors to provide that information, who their employer is and who their insurance company is, in these questionnaires, and to do it under oath, so perhaps you wouldn't have to be called into court on a case if the court knew your insurance company was involved, and especially with COVID, it'd keep you from having to have so many people come to courthouses. A lot of courts have already been doing this. I know I practice in both Fulton County and Gwinnett, and they use this, ask that question on the questionnaire so they don't call juries into the courtroom to be questioned on cases where they obviously are disqualified. I think this will work and be more efficient, and also limit the number of people that are having to go to courthouses for certain cases. For one example I come up with all the time is, for example, Georgia Farm Bureau Insurance Company. In some rural areas, a great percentage of the population is insured by them. So you drag 60 people down there to court, and then 30 of them are insured by that company, and they're excused from jury duty. County has to pay each one of them $25 for their day of service. They've been inconvenienced to come, and it's an obvious disqualification. Also avoids you from injecting bias in a case, from asking these people questions about their insurance in open court that lets everybody on the jury panel know that jury's involved. So I think this is a fairer and more efficient way to streamline the jury selection process, and I would encourage your favorable consideration of the bill. I'll yield any questions, and if none, I'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th for a question.
Will the senator yield?
I yield.
With respect to this, this seems to work a pretty significant change in the law that currently prospective jurors are not disqualified. For example, let's say State Farm. I have State Farm insurance. Maybe State Farm employs one of the litigants in the case. That is not grounds currently for disqualification.
No, but if they insured one of the litigants and you are insured by State Farm, then you also have a financial outcome because it's a mutual company, and you wouldn't be fair to the person that was suing a State Farm insured.
Will the senator continue to yield?
I yield.
So with respect to that, we're not talking about all insurance companies and all relationships in terms of insurance. It's only when it's a mutual company, correct?
I don't think it's only that way. Certainly not if you're an employee or an officer or director of them.
Will the senator continue to yield?
I yield.
But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is if there is some kind of insurance contractual relationship. I mean, that's what I heard you say, that if you put this down and then you won't have to come in. But
I didn't
as
say it was just if you were insured by them. It would obviously depend on the company, if it was a mutual company or not. They're routinely struck from juries if they are insured by the same company that's representing or insuring either one of the parties involved.
if it's a mutual company, correct?
Not always, but yes, definitely it's, you're disqualified under that circumstance.
Right. Under the law, you're disqualified
Right.
for that reason.
You're ineligible to serve.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 166? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallway clear? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 26, the nays are 24. This bill has failed to receive the requisite constitutional majority. What purpose does the senator from the 46 rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd ask for a reconsideration of that vote.
Is there objection? There is objection. Does the senator from the 46 wish to explain his motion to reconsider? From the well.
Oh, no, it's just that there were only 50 votes, and you were asking, I think there's some people that weren't in the chamber. I'd like to have them be able to weigh in on it.
Does the minority leader wish to speak to her objection? She waives. All right, those in favor of reconsidering the passage of Senate Bill 166 will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. This is a vote in favor of reconsideration. Have all senators voted? This is a vote for a motion to reconsider. Hallway clear? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 31, the nays are 20. The motion is carried, and the Senate will reconsider Senate Bill 166. Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 166? The chair sees none. All right, is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Is the hallway clear? Yes. Doors clear? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 27, the nays are 24, and this bill has failed to receive the requisite constitutional majority. Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that Senate Bill 74 be carried off the table.
Chair, will you clarify for the chair which bill you want to remove, Senator?
72.
That's what you meant to say. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 72?
Senate Bill 72 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCJ relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide that county registrars shall obtain monthly from the coroner, judge of the probate court, and funeral homes in the county identifying information about persons who died in the county during the previous month and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. This completes the order, Mr. President.
The distinguished Rules Chairman has asked that this body move for Senate Bill 72 to be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's taken off the table. The chair recognizes the Rules Chairman to present Senate Bill 72.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you heard, I said carried off the table. I was trying to make a connection because this is about taking deceased people off the rolls. Now, I've heard the debate all day, and this is the bill that I think we could come together on. We're simply finding a way to take deceased people off the voting rolls. Now, they could be Republican deceased people, or they could be Democrat deceased people, or they could be independent deceased people. And let me say this. Do you know what the procedure is now for taking deceased people off the rolls? Well, they read the newspaper, which I suggest may not be correct, may not have it in there, may have died out of state or something. But this is a sure way, or at least a better way, because I'm still convinced that people slip through the cracks, so to speak. But this requires that the coroner, the probate judge, and the funeral homes in the county send to the election office of that county and the election office of the Secretary of State to notify them that somebody is deceased. That's it. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Now, I'm waiting to see if we can come together.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yeo?
Yes, sir.
Senator, are you suppressing votes of dead people?
Well, in the past, they had the right to vote too. And if you didn't win the cemetery precinct, sometimes you wouldn't win. So I know that's a bad joke, but thank you for bringing that up.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 41st for a question.
Does the distinguished chair yield?
Indeed for you.
Thank you. Why do you want them to report every month as opposed to, the month before an election or something? Why is the reporting so frequent?
Well, I want it to be a routine thing. They already have to notify certain federal government divisions, so I think they do it monthly anyway, and this will just keep in their routine. Thank you for the question.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 12th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the gentleman in the well yield for one question?
Yes, ma'am, as long as I don't have to go to the principal's office.
Is this bill dead on arrival?
I hope not, Senator. I'd appreciate if if we could all come together. But amen for that.
Do you continue to yield?
I probably need to leave.
I don't know if they get much better than that one.
Thank you, everybody.
The Rules Chairman has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 72? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 5. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that Senate Bill 74 soar off the table.
That motion's out of order.
Taken off the table.
That's better.
My goodness.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 74 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA, leading to elections and primaries generally, so as to revise the ability of poll watchers at tabulating centers to observe the vote counting process and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 53rd has asked that Senate Bill 74 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's taken off the table. The chair recognizes the Rules Chairman to present Senate Bill 74.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, another time that we can kumbaya together. This is another simple election bill. Now, I don't want to start singing it, but I could. I feel that love, that inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, this simple bill. Have you heard that before? This expands the poll watchers' access to the election tabulation centers. All right. Now, that could be in a Republican area where Democrats want to watch, or that could be in a Democrat area where Republicans want to watch, or it could be either one and the independents want to watch. But currently, poll watchers have all sorts of access to an election precinct, but not the tabulation areas. This is something that should be what all of us want, that our poll watchers, from our party standpoint, can view the tabulation where there's no question. And Mr. President, I would be honored to take questions right now.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th for a question.
Thank you. Senator, do you yield?
Absolutely.
Couple questions. First is, the bill states that poll workers should be given access to all areas, including tabulation areas, and that restrictions on their movement and activity should be, quote, as minimal as possible. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay, so if you yield, is there a minimum distance that these observers must keep from the poll workers?
Well, I don't think so, but I think it would be logical, or let me answer your question by telling you my experience. I was a poll watcher at the precinct near the old baseball stadium. Mrs. Lowe was the poll manager. I come in there and I said, Miss Lowe, I'm here to be a poll watcher, but you'll have no problem out of me. She said, honey, you just make yourself at home, sit anywhere you like to. If you have any questions, come see me. I would hope it would be like that for the tabulation centers too. We ought to be all kind and courteous to each other. I don't have it in the bill, but it should be routine, smart, appropriate kind of thing.
Do you further yield?
Yes.
Okay. Just as a follow-up, do you think this relatively unrestricted access, and what we're talking about in terms of their proximity to the people counting the ballots, do you think this could be a distraction to the poll workers who are doing this very important task that requires concentration and
Well, if
focus?
you just bring me that sheet of paper, I'll be happy to answer all those questions for you in writing. But I do not think it's a distraction. It should be welcome. Let's say that you're in a Republican district and you're a Democrat poll watcher. If you think they're trying to hide something for you by not allowing you to see it, then there's a problem. Same in reverse. If you're a Republican in a Democrat precinct or tabulation center, you would think that you would be welcome to see what's going on, and if you didn't, you would suspect that there's a problem. Let's try to erase all that ill repute and that determination that there's something going on in advance by allowing poll watchers at tabulation centers.
Just one final question, if you yield. You're very patient. I appreciate this. So just relative to this issue of possible intimidation of poll workers, is there a reason, given that the function of these poll workers is to be a little bit distant, and in the ballot tabulation area is just purely observational in that role, is there a reason that this function couldn't be performed remotely? For example, to have cameras, just like we have in the Senate chamber, that could be observing the ballot tabulation process?
Well, thank you for that question, but I always like to do eye to eye, or I think they'd believe it if they saw it personally. I always think it's better that someone is there than using cameras. But I understand that. Thank you for your questions.
Do you continue to yield?
Well, only if they're going to vote for this bill, because it's such a delightful bill, and I'd recommend that we come together.
Chair recognizes the minority whip for a question.
Thank you. Would the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
The question is, you're allow the poll watchers to be given access to areas, but then at the same time, the election superintendent may restrict their movement. Can you tell us what type of restrictions would be allowed, is my question.
Well, to be able to see the tabulation process where they can see it. They can't see it from 50 feet away. They need to be within 6 feet or 4 feet or something, but they don't need to be a hindrance to the process. I agree.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
You have no more questions.
Thank you. I appreciate your support. Let's kumbaya together right here.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 74? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 36, the nays are 18. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th for a motion.
Mr. President, I would move that Senate Bill 62 be raised from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of Senate Bill 62.
Senate Bill 62 by Senator Tippins of the 37th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCJ relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide that the name and designation of the precinct appears on every ballot, to provide for the use of holographic security devices on ballots, to provide for the storage and retention of absentee ballots by precinct with chain of custody, to provide for the manner of handling and processing ballots requiring duplication for processing, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. Ethics offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 62, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide that the name and designation of the precinct appears on every ballot, to provide the use of overt, covert, and forensic level security elements on ballots, to provide for the storage and retention of absentee ballots by precinct with secure chain of custody, to provide for high security end-to-end secure supply chain for ballots using secure print facility, restricted security inks, and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 37th has moved that Senate Bill 62 be divinely raised from the table. Is there objection? No objection. And it's taken off the table. Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's my pleasure to bring Senate Bill 62. This bill deals specifically with the validity, the authenticity, and the security of the ballots that are cast in the state of Georgia. This bill does not preclude any legal voter from casting their vote. This bill does have 5 major parts of it that have to do with the ballot itself. The first part that it does, it specifies that on each ballot will be printed the precinct and precinct designation for which the ballot was issued. The second part of it has to do with the authenticity of the ballot itself. This bill, if you'll turn to page 5, look on line 106. This has to do with elements that are embedded in the construction of the ballot itself. There are security elements that can be identified as a valid ballot issued by the state of Georgia. The third part of it deals with a recording of the ballot's status, the numbers that are issued, and the status, whether the ballot's been returned, voted, or still outstanding. The fourth part of it has to do with the security storage of the ballots. The fifth part deals specifically with those ballots that have to be corrected. If a new ballot has to be issued, has to be prepared because of a ballot that's damaged that cannot be processed, this bill provides that the original ballot and the corrected ballot will remain together except for the time that the ballot's tabulated. These are the primary features of the bill. This is to assure that each ballot cast in the state of Georgia is a valid ballot. It's the same reason we don't make money out of printing paper. Mr. President, if there's no questions, I'll yield the wheel.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th for a question.
Senator Yield.
Absolutely, Senator.
Senator, what happens if a person goes to the wrong precinct? And by law, they've always been able to ask for a provisional ballot. And then once they vote, it goes to the Board of Election. They have so many days to verify who they are and they were at the wrong precinct.
Yes, sir. That will be provided by the issuance of the ballot. There will be sufficient number of ballots for provisional ballots. Each precinct will have a valid ballot issued by the state of Georgia that's identifiable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield?
Yes, ma'am.
I may have missed something you were saying, but I'm curious about Section 7 dealing with the forensic elements embedded in the ballots. So this
Yes.
would require a new type of paper, or is it a new, is it uniform use of a paper that is sometimes already used with these machines? Can you explain that a little more?
The security will be embedded within the paper. There will be no identification of the individual voter, the privacy of the voter, and it will not be personally identifiable, but embedded within the construction and the manufacture of the paper, there will be security elements.
And do we utilize this paper at all currently?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you have any information on the additional cost of this type of paper, out of curiosity?
The best we can tell that the security paper, the ballots are about 25 cents a piece.
So, and how?
If you have if you have 6 million ballots, that's $1.5 million.
$1.5 million to utilize this paper, you estimate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
correct.
Do you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 5th for a question.
Senator Yale?
Yes, sir.
Just wondering, right now, from the early voting, you can go to certain precinct, it doesn't have to go, how that going to affect this particular?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit hard to hear. Could you remove the mask?
Currently, you can go and vote during the early voting period, the different location, you don't have to go to, to your particular precinct. Is that going to affect anything?
There's no change in the polling locations. The only difference is when the ballot's printed either for absentee ballot purposes, it will be printed on then because each ballot has to be individualized to the voter and where they live, who their representatives are, and the ones that are printed in person, that printer at that time will be printed. When the ballots come from the state, it will not have the precinct name, but at whatever point in time the ballots are printed, for whichever precinct the ballot is issued for, it will be printed on the ballot. But it has nothing to do. We're going to different precincts. Bill does not deal with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
You have no more questions.
You will. I urge your consideration and positive vote for this. This is a step forward in security of our elections. Thank you.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 62? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 37, the nays are 15. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 23rd.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 202 be taken from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 202 by Senator Burns of the 23rd and others, A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide that persons or entities that mail absentee ballot applications shall mail such applications only to eligible registered electors who have not already requested, been issued, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. Ethics offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 202. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide that persons or entities that mail absentee ballot applications shall mail such applications only to eligible registered electors who have not already been requested, been issued, or voted an absentee ballot, and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
The freshman senator from the 23rd has asked that this body take Senate Bill 202 off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is removed from the table. Chair recognizes the freshman senator from the 23rd to present his first bill to this august body.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I bring you Senate Bill 202. This bill addresses two fundamental issues: the confusion that's created when a voter receives duplicate applications for an absentee ballot, and the workload that is created when multiple applications are submitted to the election officials. It is a very straightforward bill. It requires an entity that is mailing applications for an absentee ballot to first compare their mailing list with the Secretary of State's mailing list and remove duplicates so that a voter who has already requested an absentee ballot, has received an absentee ballot, or has already voted does not receive a duplicate. I yield well for questions. I yield for questions if there are already. I'm sure there are none.
That freshman training. All you freshmen say, I want to yield the well for questions.
That's what I want to do.
We're going to rewrite that freshman guide. Chair recognizes your majority whip for a question.
For a question.
Will you take a question or two?
For you, absolutely.
Apparently no one else signed up to ask you a question.
That's good, so you're it.
Isn't it true that you have been in office for many, many years? It's not just today. This isn't your first year in the state Senate.
I have been on a bull for more than 4 seconds, but I couldn't make 8.
Have you been a county commissioner in the past?
I have done that, yes, sir.
And have you been a dean of a business school in Dahlonega?
Indeed, I have.
Is it not true you're also a former president of a college?
Guilty, sir.
And you've even spent a little time, sort of like a jail sentence, up in Washington.
Yeah, indeed.
As a congressman.
Indeed.
So why would you want to run for the state Senate?
Because I can help my colleagues in this chamber do the right thing for the people of Georgia.
Well, are you willing to take one more question and be
one more.
Honest with all?
I will yield for one more question.
Everybody watching, is Congress as messed up as it appears from a distance?
Indeed, Senator, it is.
Thank you, sir.
I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. That's a veteran move right there. Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 202? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 32, the nays are 20. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to remove Senate Bill 253 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 253 by Senator Merritt of the 9th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA, leading to elections and primaries generally, so as to provide for when notice when polling places are relocated, to provide for related matters, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. The Committee on Ethics offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 253, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA, leading to elections and primaries generally, so as to provide for notice when polling places are relocated and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
The freshman senator from the 9th has asked for this body to take Senate Bill 253 off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it's removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 9th to present Senate Bill 253, her first bill. They're already asking questions.
I see. I think y'all got them in your head already. Thank you, Mr. President. All right, I have a really easy bill. We're not going to fight about it, but this is Senate Bill 253. And basically, this bill places requirements on signs being posted on Election Day. Current law only states that signs have to be posted on Election Day. This bill will change that. The signs will have to be posted 7 days before Election Day, as well as on Election Day. It also imposes requirements on the size of the sign, which will be a 4 by 4 feet sign. And it has requirements on the information that will be contained on the sign. So it clearly has to state that this polling location has changed. Now, this came as a result of many of my constituents reaching out to me that would show up to a polling location, maybe their local church, and find out, they get all the way down there and find out that that polling location had changed and there's no sign. There's no way to direct them about where they should go. During the Georgia Senate runoff, there was great confusion observed by several voters of certain precincts where voters would show up at a location that they had cast their ballots in the previous location, and upon arrival, again, there were no signs posted to direct them as to where they were supposed to go. And that led to confusion, inaccuracies about where they should show up to vote. And today, this is simple. I'm asking for your vote today. And this is a nice bipartisan bill. And it will just allow everyone to participate and exercise their right to vote. And it will restore confidence in our electoral process. So let me brace myself for questions. I ask for your vote today.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes, I do.
Senator, I was looking through your bill here, and I noticed that you wanted a sign 4 foot by 4 foot. Is that accurate?
That is correct. The senator is correct.
Would you continue to yield?
Yes, I do.
Senator, could you demonstrate how big that is for us?
Where's Harper? Oh. Sorry. Where's
That'll
the
be
senator for
from
the 7th? Sorry. It's probably around about here.
He said 4 foot by 4 foot.
Where is he? I'm sorry.
Do you have an example for the width?
Would you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Senator, you gave us an example of the height. Do you have an example of the
Oh,
width?
the width.
Disregard, Senator.
No, I
would
do
you yield
not.
for another question?
Yes, I do.
So, Senator, this sign's going to be 4 foot by 4 foot, but you don't specify the font. So if they have size 11 or 10 font, will that not be sufficient for your bill?
I would think that would be a small, you're talking about a small, so there is no specification on the font, but I do have confidence in our governing authorities to figure out the correct font for that sign.
Thank you,
Build
Senator.
the sign.
Good answers.
Do you continue to yield?
Yes, I do.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Yes, I do.
You know, you said this is a nice bipartisan bill. A couple of weeks ago, I had what I thought was a nice bipartisan bill to make the Department of Revenue more efficient. And I think I used the term, instead of a shotgun, we would use a rifle. It passed 49-1. I immediately looked to the 31st, who has a history of a red button, but no, it was the 9th. So my question is, did you think that was a gun bill?
I did not.
Against?
No, Senator, I did not.
All right, no
Do you
further
continue
questions.
to yield?
Yes, I do.
Chair recognizes the majority whip.
No,
Do you
hey.
yield?
Yes, Senator.
Well, how did you come up with a size 4 foot by 4 foot?
Well, it was originally 6 by 6, and it was recommended by our illustrious pro tem to make that 4 by 4.
So when you ran for office this year, did you have campaign signs around your district?
Yes, I did.
What size were those signs?
What was the standard sign? 3 by 5 or something? I forget what that was. What's the size of those
3 by
signs?
5.
It was 18 by 24.
Those
Sorry.
are yard signs, correct?
Yes, they are.
Did you have any bigger signs at intersections where you would put out commercials and spots?
I did not.
So is it true that you're trying to set up a deal to where you can get some 4 by 4 signs for your next election, Senator?
Senator, that was not the premise of my bill, but
we're gonna keep watching you.
Do you continue to yield?
yes, Senator, I do.
Chair recognizes the pro tem for a question.
Does the senator yield?
Yes, I do.
Well, I have to tell you, the senator from the Gold Capitol, he pointed out that the 4 foot by 4 foot would be better because it is more economical. Why is that more? Why would it be more economical, Senator?
I guess you would need less material for that.
I'm asking the question.
For the sign. and you know, I defer to the wisdom.
How does a standard sheet of plywood come, Senator? How does it arrive if you order one from Home Depot?
Would that be a 4 by 4?
That would be a 4 by
4 by 8? Thank you for helping me. 4 by 8.
Sounds like.
A 4 by 8.
Thank you, Senator.
Chair
So it's
recognizes
easy to
the
cut.
senator from the 33rd for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the senator yield?
Yes, I do.
I think you might want to think about yielding because the more you move your lips, you sound like a seasoned politician.
Was that a compliment? I yield well.
Senator has yielded the well. Our freshmen can hang in the well for their first time, that's for sure. All right, does anybody else wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 253? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. For what purpose does the senator from the 7th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that I'm taller than 4 feet?
It doesn't appear that way. But that's for each and every senator to determine on their own. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 2nd. For what purpose does the senator from the 28th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Can we do a roll call vote on if the senator from the 7th is over 4 feet, please?
We do a hand vote. Chair recognizes the senator from the 2nd.
Mr. President, I ask that Senate Bill 97 be removed from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 97 by Senator Jackson of the 2nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-3-66 of the OCGA relating to determination of in-state resident status of students for tuition or fees so as to codify the university system policy of out-of-state tuition differential waivers and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Higher Education recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Tippins of the 37th. The Senate Committee on Higher Education offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 97. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-3-66 of the OCGA relating to determination of in-state resident status of students for tuition or fees so as to codify the university system policy of out-of-state tuition differential waivers and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 2nd has moved that Senate Bill 97 be taken off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 2nd to present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of this esteemed body, I bring to you Senate Bill 97. It's a very simple bill. It permits the historical black colleges and universities, there's 3 of them, Savannah State University, Fort Valley State University, and Albany State University. It will provide the university system to permit them to award out-of-state tuition waivers from 2% to 4%. This is the same tuition waivers we give the University of Georgia, Georgia State, and Georgia Tech. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I yield the will.
You don't appear to have any questions.
Thank you. I urge your favorable consideration.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 97? For what purpose does the senator from the 12th rise?
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to be excused from voting on SB 97 pursuant to Senate Rule 5-1.8.
The senator from the 12th is asked to be excused on this vote. Is there objection? The chair hears none. The senator is excused. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. For what purpose does the senator from the 19th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
State your
President.
inquiry.
Mr. President, is it not true that the senator from the 4th has made it back from the 2nd floor to hang out with us now again?
Appears to be so. Thank you for that point of reference. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th.
I'll ask for Senate Bill 252, unanimous consent to remove Senate Bill 252 from the table.
Mr. Secretary, will you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 252 by Senator C. of the 34th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 45 of the OCGA, relating to general provisions regarding salaries and fees for public officers, so as to revise the compensation of certain public officials and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Mullis of the 53rd. The Committee on Rules offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 252, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 28-1-8 and Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 45 of the OCGA, leading to salary and allowances of members and officers of the General Assembly and general provisions regarding salaries and fees for public officers, respectively, so as to revise the compensation of certain public officials and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 34th has asked that this body move for Senate Bill 252 to be taken off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it's taken off the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 34th to present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I rise to ask for your favorable consideration on Senate Bill 252. This legislation would give all constitutional officers other than the governor a 40% salary raise. Additionally, it will raise the salary for each member of the General Assembly, the Speaker of the House, the President pro tem of the Senate, and the Speaker pro tem of the House. That's all this bill does. If there are no questions, I'll yield the will.
You have no questions, Senator. Does any other senator? Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is worth attention. This moves our salaries in line with the average salaries of the hardworking Georgians who get up Monday through Friday, go to work 9 to 5, 12 months a year, year-round. We do fantastic work in this building. We do essential work, I believe, in this building. But we are part-time legislators. I don't believe that any of us, no matter how hard we work at this job, wake up and go to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 12 months a year, to do this job. Furthermore, what this bill does, we just got done voting and kind of sidebar conversations regarding the Commissioner of Labor and the disappointment that many of our constituents have shared with us around the job that the Commissioner of Labor has done. And this bill rewards him with a 45% pay raise. I've been in business for most of my life, have employed numerous people across numerous businesses. And I don't know that at any point in time, either for myself, my business partners, or at companies that I have owned, have we ever rewarded anybody with a 45% pay raise. I do think that our salaries are too low, But I do think moving us to a salary that is in line with full-time jobs for the average Georgians that send us here is not reflective of the work that we do during the 3 months that we spend here at the Capitol. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 252? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. For what purpose does the senator from the 34th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your
please.
inquiry.
Mr. President, is it not true that I've not had a raise in 20 years, and it's time for us to move the needle, and a green vote would do that?
I'm certain the senator knows of what she speaks. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? For what purpose does the senator from the 41st rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that this bill doesn't go into effect until 2023? Thus, some of the problematic folks that we've talked about may or may not be in office anymore?
That's for each and every member to figure out on their own. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, hallway clear. Please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 20, the nays are 33. This bill, having failed to receive the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore lost by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 2nd for a motion.
Mr. President, I ask that Senate Bill 90 be removed from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 90 by Senator Jackson of the 2nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 50 of the OCGA relating to state government so as to create the Georgia Commission on African American History and Culture and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Urban Affairs recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Jackson of the 2nd. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 2nd has moved that Senate Bill 90 be taken off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it's removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 2nd to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of this esteemed body, I present to you Senate Bill 90. Senate Bill 90, we passed this bill last year. It established the Georgia Commission of African American History and Culture. It shall be composed of 20 members, and it shall discover, document, preserve, collect, and promote Georgia's African American history and heritage, with a primary focus on educating the citizens of this great state about the significance of the African American experience in Georgia. We passed this bill last year, and I urge once again of your favorable consideration. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I yield the well.
You have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 90? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption? Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th.
Mr. President, ask permission to remove Senate Bill 10 from the calendar, from the table.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 10 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to offenses against public order so as to provide for an offense of promoting illegal drag racing and laying drags, to provide for an offense of knowingly attending an illegal drag race or drag exhibition, to provide for the punishment, to amend Title 40 of the OCGA, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. The Senate Judiciary offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 10, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to offenses against public order so as to provide for an offense of promoting illegal drag racing, laying drags, and operating upon highways by unauthorized vehicles, to provide for an offense of knowingly attending and wagering at an illegal drag race or laying drag exhibition, to provide for punishment, and for other purposes. Senator Hatchett of the 50th offers the following Amendment 1 to Committee Substitute of Senate Bill 10 by adding, in violation of any local ordinance, on line 236 following the word highway.
Amendment 2.
Senator Hatchett of the 50th offers the following Amendment 2 to amend Committee Substitute to Senate Bill 10 by striking Section 10 and renumbering Sections 11, 12, and 13 accordingly. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator we got another amendment.
Senator Harper of the 7th and others offers the following Amendment Number 3 to amend Committee Substitute to Senate Bill 10 by striking Section 3 and renumbering accordingly. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair, the senator from the 10th has moved that Senate Bill 10 be taken off the table. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it's removed from the table. The chair recognizes the senator from the 10th to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of this great body. Senate Bill 10 is an attempt to address one of the more pressing concerns that we have in our communities. This bill is named the Mia Sanford Law, and a very prominent family in DeKalb County inspired me to draft this legislation after a horrific incident. Ms. Bobby Sanford's daughter-in-law was killed this past summer. This bill has, over in Section 2, deals with those that are laying drags and laying tracks. It also deals with anyone that organizes these kind of events, as well as someone who's betting or wagering money on it. Further down in Section 3, Section 3 deals with my attempt, if you will, to address the pressing concerns of how these cars are converted. Having been in the car business for some 30-odd years, I know that you can take a car and put nitrous on it, gut the the emission system on it and put nitrous in the tank and change the ECM and PCM modules and boost the horsepower over 150. Basically, there's countless videos out there on YouTube and elsewhere that highlight the problems that cities like Atlanta, areas like DeKalb County, and really all areas of the state has experienced with vehicles that are illegally laying drag and laying tracks. This bill also raises the penalty from a misdemeanor to a high and aggravated misdemeanor, which essentially says that the fines are increasing. The point system is raised as well. The first offense is 4 points off your license, then it goes to 6 and 8. That's listed over on page 6 and 7 of this legislation. This bill does have, upon the third offense, upon conviction, it does have a section where you can, where law enforcement can actually forfeit, or you can forfeit your vehicle. And that's listed over on page 9. I said it was raised from misdemeanor to a higher and aggravated misdemeanor, and the fines went up from the first conviction up to $1,000, and it's left at the judge's discretion. The second is $2,000, and the third fine is up to $5,000. Again, all of which is at the judge's discretion. And Mr. President, if there are no questions, then I will yield the well.
You don't appear to have any questions.
Favorable consent for Senate Bill 10. I've not seen the amendments, so I'm going to go back to my desk and study the amendments and respond accordingly.
You do have questions now. Chair recognizes the majority whip for a question.
Will the senator yield?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for bringing this legislation. I'm just curious, why do you think law enforcement is not already enforcing some of these violations of our laws?
Well, there are some statutes on the books that doesn't give law enforcement the authority to enforce some of these laws on the books. And my approach is a two-pronged approach. Not only are we looking after those that are driving the vehicles, but there's an organization out there that organizes these events, as well as people that are betting on them. So it's look, I hate to use the term criminal enterprise because the activity is illegal, but essentially, Senator, that's what we have out there.
I really appreciate you bringing this legislation because I think it's a real serious issue here in Atlanta primarily. But I'm really concerned that, that we have laws already on the books and we should enforce those laws. And I would hope we would all support our law enforcement officers out there that are trying to do that. But on a lighter note, there's a provision in this bill that makes you qualify a higher horsepower vehicle. And I was thinking back in the days up in North Georgia, that's how NASCAR got its start. So you're not trying to get rid of NASCAR here in Georgia, are you?
No, absolutely not,
Right.
Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Again, this bill would not apply unless someone is laying tracks or laying drags or engaged in some kind of illegal activity out there. That's been designated by the local ordinance. Sandy Springs passed something very similar to this with a local ordinance recently, and they're attempting to do the same thing.
Chair
You're
recognizes the pro tem to your left.
Does the senator yield?
I do.
Senator, I'm as a senator from the gold capital of Georgia, I'm grateful for this legislation too because it is dangerous, and we have seen a lot of it over the last few years. And I'm glad to hear that you're not trying to eliminate NASCAR. You're not trying to eliminate Hondas, are you?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. All right. Thanks, Senator.
And
only if they're street racing.
Senator, thank you for that. Thank you for that comment, by the way, because that just reminded me of something. By the way, there is one car that Ford Motor Company makes, and that car is a Chevy Mustang GT that puts out 725 horsepower. That car, and we're not saying that anyone that owns a car with a high-performance engine in it that you can't not drive that car. This legislation simply says it directs DOR to come up with a decal, if you will, to identify that it's a high-performance automobile. And that's all. It's not doing anything else to those high-performance cars, just the sticker. Thank you.
Do you continue to yield?
I do, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 47th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, my friend, and I believe you're an automobile dealer, if I'm not mistaken, but I wanted to ask you, have you ever ridden with the senator from the 51st? You really want to keep him down to about 5 horsepower if you've ever done that.
Thank you, Senator. I have not.
Do you continue to yield?
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well.
Thank you.
All right, the chair recognizes the senator from the 50th to speak to amendments 1 and 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. You'll see I have 2 amendments to this bill. It is my intent to withdraw Amendment 1, and I'll now speak to Amendment 2. As the previous senator spoke of, street racing is a serious problem, especially in the Atlanta area. In Atlanta alone, on Saturday night, law enforcement reported there were 38 arrests, 5 DUIs, 1 wanted person, 2 stolen vehicles, and 3 stolen guns that were recovered. The night before, on Friday, involved with street racing, once again, there were 89 citations issued, 9 vehicle pursuits, 7 DUI arrests, 3 stolen vehicles were recovered, and 1 stolen gun was recovered. And that's just one weekend. So I applaud the governor, I applaud the senator from the 10th, and others for this bipartisan effort and support for this bill. This amendment, Amendment 2, is being brought to address concerns that this bill may have unintended consequences by criminalizing and penalizing individuals from driving an ATV on a highway from, for example, one side of their farm to the other. And after speaking with the senator from the 10th, we agree this addresses that concern and appropriately addresses that concern. And I ask for your support of the amendment and support of this bill. And I yield the well. Thank you.
Senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 7th to speak to amendment number 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I too, like the senator from the 50th, thank the senator from the 10th and the governor and others who have been working on this issue. I do agree that this is a problem that needs to be addressed, and I appreciate the work that's been done on this to address the issues that we have. Unfortunately, there is one provision of the bill that I have concerns with, and that's Section 3 dealing with the registration of vehicles and also license plates of vehicles. I believe this presents an unintended consequence. There are a lot of people across our state that own vehicles that fit in this category, and it's for more of a pleasure. It's not necessarily that they're doing what the things that those that are violating the law currently that are doing it in Atlanta. And I think we're wrapping in people that are not violating the law, that are not using them in a way that is causing the problems, and I think that just creates an unintended consequence that we're bringing those folks in under the law. Senator from the 10th did mention that Ford does create a vehicle, the GT500. I think Tesla may be coming out with something that would meet this definition among other new vehicle manufacturers, but there are a lot of vehicles from the 1960s and 70s that I'm sure the senator from the 53rd may know well about from that particular era. But those vehicles could also meet this definition if you modify that vehicle more than the horsepower that it was supposed to be manufactured for, and it would fall under this category. I just think this is an undue burden and an undue consequence on those that may own those particular vehicles. So I would appreciate your support on this amendment. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the will.
Senator has yielded the well. Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th to close debate and speak to the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I certainly appreciate the support that I receive from many, many people in this great body on this particular legislation. I also like to thank Governor Kemp and his staff for the interest that they've taken in this particular issue and trying to help define what the problem is and coming up with a common sense approach to dealing with this problem that we all recognize is a serious problem, not just in our metropolitan areas, but is also a serious problem across the rest of this great state. I strongly support amendment number 2 because there is some ambiguity regarding ATVs and how people of different areas of this state use their ATVs and didn't want to entrap someone. So I agree that section 10 should be removed. I would invite you to leave section 3 in. The only unintended consequence that could occur from leaving this section in would be someone who has a stable of these cars, and there are a lot of collectors out there. The only difference this legislation would require would be a small decal on the back of the car as the rules are promulgated by DOR. This bill is not aimed at any of those out there who collect these cars and have them in their garages. Is simply directed at those who have been converting these cars to nitrous, which is a dangerous chemical material they put in the back of these cars. Typically, they blow the engines up after they use them for a while, or ECMs or PCMs in the engine control module, powertrain control modules, and using these cars for street racing. That's it. There are no unintended consequences for anyone who owns a stable of luxury cars or high-performance cars, and that's okay. The only impact this legislation would have to them, again, would be simply they would have to get a different decal, and those vehicles have to be registered every year anyway, and DOR would just give them a different decal. That's the only thing it does. And if there are no questions, Mr. President,
You have a question. Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does Senator yield?
Absolutely.
What's the purpose of the decal?
There's multiple purposes for the decal. In an effort to try and identify those cars that have been converted, particularly in our neighborhoods, it would certainly be beneficial to law enforcement to know that a car had been converted. It would, in this language, in that section 3, it also says that those who convert these cars and put nitrous in there illegally and gut the emission control system would have to sign off on the registration. So again, what we're trying to do, and what I'm trying to do is get as many of those cars off the road that have been converted illegally, because when you gut the engine, the emission control system on a car, that car no longer meets the emission standard anyway, and it should not be on the road.
Senator, would you further yield?
Absolutely.
So, I'm just trying to understand this. So people would have to voluntarily report that they converted the vehicle to DOR for then DOR to send them a decal? I mean, does it matter? Anyway, that's my question. Then I have another question.
Yeah, once you register the car, registration is annual anyway in the great state of Georgia, and those cars that have been identified as high performance or converted would again, once the vehicle is registered, they would just get a decal every single year.
But the owner of the vehicle would have to report. I mean, how would they know it was converted unless the owner told them it was converted?
Well, there's a lot of cars out there that have been converted illegally,